Today is gonna be my first time trying out IEMs, so let's see how this goes. Ever since I've had my first PC, I've always been a headphone user. I've started from the cheap gaming headsets which cost me 15 bucks. I slowly upgraded to HyperX headsets which were around $60 to $100, and now I'm currently rocking the G Pro X wireless which sets me back $300. Now over the past 2 to 3 years, I've been keeping up with the CS competitive scene and I've been watching all the CS majors, Onipixel of course, and you know, one thing always catches my eyes. Pros always use IEMs, so I thought, why not? You know, I decided to try out IEMs for the first time and document my experience trying them out. Of course, the part I'm most excited about is gaming with them. Counter-Strike, obviously. I play Counter-Strike nearly every single day and I'm really intrigued if this will somewhat improve my experience or maybe a little bit of a skill level in the game. And before we get started, I do want to preface this, a disclaimer, I am not an audiophile. I have no knowledge as to like the audio world or any sort of audio details. I am just a regular consumer, so just think of it as documenting my experience and sharing my experience as a regular consumer trying out IEMs. Anyway, another reason I decided to do this is also because KZ, an IEM brand, actually reached out asking if I want to review their IEMs. But of course I said not really because I have no experience and I don't think I am qualified to review IEMs. So I told them instead, just let me try out your IEMs on video and I'll showcase it. So I got them to send over 4 different IEMs. I believe they all have their own unique points and features, so here are the 4. I have first of all the KZ Sagas, second of all the KZ ZS10 Pro 2s, the Vader Pros, and the AM16. So let's get these unboxed. Now, first impressions based on looks itself, I love the finish on all of them. It's like PVD on custom keyboards. We have like this sort of a mirror chrome finish to it, and there's actually a decent amount of weight to them and they just give it so much more of a premium feel. There isn't anything crazy to set up. Every IEM came with the same cable and different sized rubber tips. So yeah, I just played around and tried all of them over 1 week, listening to music, watching videos, playing games, be it Counter-Strike or just random games. And here's what I learned or experienced during the past week. And also to preface this again, I am not an audiophile. It's literally been a week. So yeah. Let's start with the ZS10 Pro 2s. It's kind of the all-rounder of the whole bunch that I have, and it has this cool open back look to it, but it's still a closed IEM. Build-wise, it feels really solid in the hand. There isn't any weird pressure points when you're wearing it in a ear, no sharp edges whatsoever. Now, sound-wise, I think it leans towards a brighter and energetic tone, but not exactly in a very harsh way. The bass isn't very boomy, it's very tight and controlled, still very satisfying, and the vocals come through really clearly. My favorite thing about the ZS10 Pro 2s are the dip switches at the side. You basically can tweak the sound, you can add more bass, smooth out the highs. It's nice to have, especially if you're figuring out what you like, which is me. For around 40 bucks, I don't think it's overly pricey. I don't think it's exactly budget either, but if it's all balanced and it also provides for adjustable switches to tune sound, I feel like it's a pretty nice IEM to have to start with. Next up are the AM16s. These are all BA. BA as in balanced armatures. I have no idea how to pronounce armature. A-R-M-A-T-U-R-E, armature. I don't know. And I know that sounds technical, but basically it's a bunch of tiny components that focus on clarity and speed. Most IEMs use dynamic drivers for more bass, but since this is all about the BA, it's less bass but all about clarity. It's got a pretty bold V-shaped sound, meaning strong bass and bright treble. Now in terms of its build, it's a bit on the chunkier side, but when it's in your ear, it doesn't feel too heavy, but it's definitely not my preference in terms of how big it is. In general, the experience with these just feel a lot more energetic, in your face kind of a sound. It's just very dead. Next is the Vader Pros. These use 3 dynamic drivers per side, which usually means more warm, more natural sound, which is exactly what you get. The sound is balanced and clean with really nice clarity, the treble isn't too sharp, and the vocals sound very natural. The bass is present, of course, but it's not too overwhelming. And it also has tuning switches, which lets you play around with adjusting the sound to whatever you like. But in terms of the build, this feels a little chunkier and heavier to the ZS10 Pro 2s, which is why I personally still do prefer that. But in terms of the balanced and tuning, it's somewhat similar, I would say. Now, last but not least, these are the ones I have used the most. These are the KZ Sagas, and they have the strongest bass. It's got that classic V-shaped sound with full thumpy bass and a slightly boosted treble. In terms of its build, it's got a nice metal faceplate and it feels lightweight but durable. And my favorite thing about it is that it's small, so it's really comfortable in my ear, especially for personal preference at least, which is why this makes it the most used throughout the past week. It doesn't have any switches or fancy tuning stuff, but for 20 bucks, I feel like it's the one that I would use. So after all that, there are two main IEMs that I have went back to constant, which is the KZ Sagas and the ZS10 Pro 2s. The Sagas mainly due to the comfort, and the price point is really fair. The ZS10 Pro 2s I really love because of the tuning switches and how clean you can get it. Now, would I use these on a day-to-day basis? Maybe. The sound quality and sound isolation is definitely the biggest upside to IEMs, especially if you're gaming. The amount of clarity and detail you get is unmatched if you're comparing it to a headset. But in terms of comfort, I definitely still do prefer my own headset. The portability of having a wireless headset and the comfort is unbeatable. It might also be I'm just not used to IEMs in my ear throughout the whole day, so it's more of a personal thing. Now, with the sound isolation that IEM provides, there is also a downside to it, which is the occlusion effect. Basically, it's like hearing yourself talk. Just imagine yourself plugging your ears with your fingers and talking. You can hear yourself really clearly, right? So basically that's what it sounds like if you're gaming and talking to your friends over Discord and you have IEMs on. The occlusion effect is really strong, and because I'm not used to it, it feels like it's there. But overall, everything has its pros and cons, so one thing for sure is that whenever I'm gaming, especially on Counter-Strike, I will be using IEMs. So this has been my first experience with IEMs, and it's honestly pretty fun and interesting to try out something different aside from custom keyboards. Now, KZ did send these over, but they did not pay me in any sort of a way to say that the IEMs are good whatsoever. In return for the IEMs they sent me, I just told them that I would be doing a full video on it and I'll be just documenting my thoughts after trying out all the different IEMs. So that's all. So if you're interested, I'll have everything linked down below. Like this video if you enjoyed this video and comment your thoughts on the video itself. Give me some feedback as to my opinions and maybe some recommendations as to other brands I could try out. So aside from that, subscribe if you enjoy my content and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.